All right, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning, and I hope you had a wonderful coffee break, stretched, and ready to hear from the next session. Our session is session 4, and we are delighted to be here with all of you today, and I have my Marvels and Avengers with me. And they have a lot to share with all of you. And if you have any questions, please ask. Don't be shy. We are all ready to receive questions from you, and I'm very sure that my panelists are here and able to be answer your questions, right? Okay, so I'm Dr. Kavita Muti from Intellis Tech Services, and I'm delighted to be here today for the topic of corporate survival in a digital era. So one thing that I want to share with you, I was told that, hey, you got to use the iPad, yeah? Because you're talking about digital, you got to be innovated and all that. So being a business continuity person, though I have my iPad with me, I do have my paper and pen backup. You don't depend on technology, right, all the time. So I thought I was the only one coming up here with a paper and pen as backup, and I've got my side. I've got another one here. Cybersecurity. And Anwar told me, look, this is my note. And it's just a piece of paper as well. And I said, and Chan as well? Yeah? And Jeevan as well? Okay, Jeevan. Oh my God, 555. Buku 35. Guys, we really got to give this big round of applause. Come on. We are talking about corporate survival in digital era. Now tell me, are we living in digitally transformed era? Once upon a time. That's a nice way of starting a story, isn't it? Where business used to be good enough. Business as usual, good enough, right? Everybody say business as usual is good enough. But now, with the era that we are moving forward and the era that we are living today, business as usual is not good enough. The good enough is already dead. And when I tell this to one of my clients, sir, BAU is not good enough and good enough is dead, he was like, no, BAU is okay with me. Just carry on with that. As long as I have my data being recovered, okay, fine, we move on with that. Now, in a world where everything is connected, right, people together, we are everywhere, and we are equally excellent looking into perfection in reaching out our business outcome, right? And what I see that not only what we have in this digital era and what we have left, we've got very little space that we need to fill. From the transformation perspective, everybody talk about technology is what transformation all about. But to me, that one little space that we are forgetting is the human. Without human intervention, I don't think so there would be any transformation. So business is heading toward this new race. It's like a tornado, and it's fueled with digitization. Everywhere we go, people talk about digitization. And today, in fact, I must thank you, KSI, when they invited me to moderate today's panel session. And the gentlemen that I'm with today, all of them somehow rather have this chief digital officer title. Dulu tak ada kan? Last time, we don't have that, Sumesh. Yeah. So that clearly showed there is a demand for that position because the business is transforming, right? So are we really driving this change, or the change is driving us? So we don't know what kind of race we are in right now. That's why we have all the expertise with me today. They're going to share from their perspective as well. And we have become, we realized that accepting disruption becoming a new normal as well. And we didn't expect this 2 years, we're going to get ourselves locked down. There's nothing about pandemic. We never talk about it before. Though 18 years ago, when I talk about H1N1 or even SARS and all that, people are like, oh, it won't happen in Malaysia, so don't worry about it. But today, when pandemic hit us, then we are talking about we better be ready. Those days, doing this risk is assessing a risk in a company in the area of having your operation resilience, having your information resilient, your data resilient is something that never talk about. But when transformation happen, or I would say the transformation forces to change, then we realize if you are not changing, then you would never be in this track as well. So this is one thing that I want to tell, that with the change that used to happen gradually, now you can see everything stopped and it's moving much faster, including your winning and losing in the business. And it is also because of transformation. And it is just becoming, the change that is happening right now is exponentially. And we have this quantum computing, which is fueled by artificial intelligence, IoT, big data, augmented reality, and all that stuff, including robotic. But however, anything that can happen digitally, or you digitize it, or you can actually automate it, those things that which cannot be digitized or automated, now it become more valuable. Then we realize it's human traits, right? Their intelligence, their creativity, their innovativeness and all that, and also emotions, right? Machine don't have that emotion. So let us hear it today. I'm going to start with this one question, which I love this question, and I'm very sure my heroes here will be able to start themselves with an introduction and with an answer for this question. Here's my favorite. Is digital transformation really the key to business survival in this digital era? Aadrin, start with you. And please introduce yourself. The first hero, let's hear from Aadrin.
Thank you, Doctor, and thank you, everyone, for inviting me today to this distinguished panel. I'm Aadrin Azly. I'm the Chief Digital Officer for PETRONAS. And since you mentioned this new term, CDO, what do I really do? I see it's a role that has two key roles. When the company thinks something is going wrong, I play the role of IT help desk. When they find out that something is actually wrong, I play the role of a corporate punching bag. As you can see, it's a very important role.
Right.
So, okay. It's a bit of a loaded question, right? Can I answer no and then well, yeah, of course the answer is yes.
Yes.
From my point of view, why it is a yes, it's because corporate survivability, to me, the key tenet now is really about adaptability and being able to change. In those days, how you become successful and strong is about having the right assets, the right people, the right technology, the right capabilities. I'm not saying that those are no longer important, but having right is no longer as important as having it right at the right time. The reason is that the pace of change now is so profound, so fast. And I was telling my children, I went into Clubhouse trying to show off how cool. They said, Daddy, nobody does that anymore. So trends, in my mind, are by eras. 70s bell bottom, 80s mohawk, or whatever, right? But now trends are by months. So companies need to change and adapt. That ability to change, this is where I think digital comes in very strongly. Because that ability to change is a factor of two things. The ability to make decisions. In order to make quick decisions, you need data, you need information, you need to be safe and secure. That's why digital can measure, track, analyze. The second one is being able to do it, and if it is not correct, being able to change it quickly. And this is why things like automation, having things in the digital world, if it doesn't work out, you can write a few codes, you can change it, you can test it, you can iterate. It is a very different game from brick and mortar, where once you build it, you're stuck with it, right? So I think decision-making and the execution pace, because of that, that's why digital is so critical in terms of company and corporates being able to survive.
Right, very well, Aadrin. Thank you so much. We move on to the same question with Afhzal now.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Afhzal, Chief Digital Technology Officer of the Employees Provident Fund. And yeah, I think to a certain extent, it's a given. I don't think we have a choice.
A choice.
Where we are today, right? We look at the shifts that are impacting organizations today across the key stakeholder groups. From the customer's perspective, a lot of them are on the digital platforms today, the Grabs, the Food Pandas, the what have yous. They're exposed to such technology. And I think naturally they expect corporates, organizations to offer similar experiences.
That's right.
It doesn't matter whether you are a large conglomerate, a traditional brick and mortar company. They expect the level of interaction, engagement that all of these other digital platforms are providing. That's one. Secondly, that goes also to your internal employees, right?
Yeah.
They are also expecting similar exceptional experiences. It's not just about going to the office, logging in and doing work. They're expecting tools, platforms to help them, to empower them to achieve greater things at work, to be able to collaborate across regions, teams, and so on and so forth. So I think it is almost a given. And we're seeing this at the EPF as well. We're seeing significant shifts across our stakeholder groups. The fact that not just our employees are expecting more, we're seeing our member base, for example,
right.
5 generations at EPF, a significant proportion of our member base are now the digital savvy or the digital literate group. So you can't tell them, you want to deal with EPF, go to our branch, fill up a form.
Fill up the form.
Right?
Queue at the counter.
You'll get this cringe and, what form? What's a form?
Yeah.
So our members are expecting to be done online, things to be done online. They expect, and that's not just transactions from day one, right? Why can't I open an account online? So I think it is a given, and I think if corporates and organizations don't recognize that, the expectations have increased tremendously from all key stakeholder groups,
that's right.
I think, it would be a concern.
Correct. I think it's going to be more than technology when it comes to the next gen's expectation. Sir, I'm just going to get Dr. Noni, from your point of view, with the question whether is digital transformation is the key business survival in the digital era.
Thank you for the opportunity for me to take part at the World Digital Economy and Technology Summit 2020. Again, I do apologize for not being able to physically be there, but hey, this is the World Digital Economy and Technological Summit, right? So we have to have some kind of hybrid. And I'm Noni Purnomo. I'm the President Commissioner of PT Bluebird Tbk. I was the company CEO/President Director until the end of August 2021. And as we all know, or may know, Bluebird is a transportation company that operates in Indonesia, from taxis, limousine, car rental, buses. We have intercity services and also logistics. We have around 20,000 vehicles, so we own the assets, and more than 30,000 employees and drivers currently serving the business. So in relation to your question, I also echo the previous speakers about the importance of digital advancement in our daily life. Basically, it's not just a business. So there are two extreme beliefs when it comes to advancement of technology, right? So one side is the real fear of it, the Terminator and all of those things. And the other side treats it like God, the ultimate being. So I see the advancement of technology as the best tool for us to use at this moment. This shall be true in any era. It's not just this time. It is an important part of our life. It is important for us to be able to adopt and embrace the advancement of technology to our benefit. I think that's a key factor of it. I'm giving you a simple example of what we have done. Bluebird is an asset-based company, as I mentioned earlier. We need to be able to operate our business in a safely manner, reliable, and of course, very efficient. Otherwise, we won't be able to survive. So for this, we need to have a very good maintenance system. This is just a very simple example. So can you imagine with more than 20,000 vehicles, if we cannot adopt to the digital transformation and digital advancement, how can we make sure that every single vehicle is being accurately predicted and monitored for the quality of our maintenance? It is almost impossible. So it is beyond our willingness. It is a must that we shall adopt to the advancement of technology each time. Another example is we offer multi-channel reservations for our customers. So our customers can get our services through street hailing. So we still provide that still. Our exclusive outlets through call center. Even the call center, we need to have a data center to manage that. We now adopting the chat box to help our customer services managing the complaints, the information, the inputs that we receive from our customers. And we also launched our My Bluebird app and our partners apps. So to be able to do all of this, we do need to adopt and embrace the advancement of technology. So we all shall take advantage of the digital transformation era and use it for our benefit.
Thank you, Dr. Noni. I take that very important point from there, which is the technology represent how to change, but the people, like what Afhzal also said, represent the why, the need to change in getting this holistic business model, which is driven by transformation. Excellent. Thank you so much. Over to you, Anwar.
Thank you, Dr. Kavita. It's assuring to hear about the technology, the adaptability, building in new applications. And just to introduce myself, I'm Anwar Yusuf from Cybersecurity Malaysia. I've been there for about 14 plus years. I'm also surprised how I stayed here for too long. It's like before, usually you'll be in an organization 3 to 5 years. But I guess the key thing here will be, if you enjoy what you're doing, and I do industry development, and I have a small little story to share about business transformation, about this journey of digitalization. So a couple of years ago, about 5, 6 years ago, with one of my partner, we were giving a presentation on data leakage protection to a huge government agency. And we were explaining how the data leakage happens, but the CEO of that organization was having a hard time to understand. He said, kalau data saya, if my data is being taken out, then where is my original? So I told him, sir, your original is still there, but the data is being copied out. Oh, copy. Kalau copy, original ada tak apalah, it's okay lah. So the IT guys were like, oh my God, So I told my partner, this is the wrong person to talk to about digitalization or data leakage protection. Wrong person, okay? Fortunately, he's not there anymore, and Alhamdulillah lah, the organization have taken a very important step to, do what is necessary. So I guess, we in cybersecurity, we talk about our golden triangle, about people, process, and technology. But there is key component that makes it into a diamond, which is data. What are we doing about the data itself? Because how much data does EPF generate a day? Gigabytes, terabytes, and how do you store this data? How do you secure this data? And what part of your data are the crown jewels that die, you must protect? If I meet this guy again, I will tell him, by the way, sir, it is not just about someone copy. There is a possibility that your data will get hit by ransomware. And you're going to lose your data, plus you might need to pay ransom if you want to pay ransom, okay? So these are the key things that we need to ask ourselves. Management, are they ready? What processes do we have in place? Fine, we have the technology. I mean, alhamdulillah, we can buy data leakage, any solutions that are on the market. But the key thing here is, have we identified what data and where is it? I'm sure everybody here have your experience you would like to share about MySejahtera, right? So, sensitive issues, but I guess these are the points that we need to discuss. We need to be aware. Your data protection, PDPA policies, the ACTA that you need to comply to. If you are in the financial sector, your RMIT that you must comply. So compliance is important. But the key thing here is, yes, we need to go back to the fundamentals about the people. Are they ready? Are the processes in place? What technology you want to use? Plus, what data you're going to protect. So I guess with that, I pass back over to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, sir. I think the very key point that I've taken from this introduction is the data protection. If you want to transform, take care of the data as well, right? So, KL Chan.
Yeah. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Chan Kok Long, and I'm one of the co-founder of IP88. Now, to me, we should not ask ourselves whether digital transformation is a must. The answer is yes. I rather not to delve on why we must go into digital transformation. I rather want to share with you how to kickstart digital transformation in your organization. Now, to me, being a co-founder and entrepreneur, digital transformation have to start from top down. The reason is very, very simple. Anything to do with technology, we are talking about investment. Now, if you expect bottoms up, you expect the staff, the head of department, initiate digital transformation, it is very difficult for them to decide what are the technology, the direction, the KPI, the objective, the end goal of achieving digital transformation. Now, on the other flip of the coin is, if the decision is top down, we are talking about, as an entrepreneur, we are talking about investment for future sustainability and relevance of the company. That's very important. Now, the second point is, you must keep on asking yourself or your colleague, how are we going to disrupt our own business? That's very important. Disrupt your business. Let me share with you any disruption that you can think of. The key or the mother of disruption is always digital payment. Not that I want to promote iPay. I give you one very clear example. EPF. They got fantastic digital transformation. You can even book your appointment online. Whatever Afhzal mentioned just now, I am very sure you are the most happy customer of EPF if you can submit everything online and EPF pay you online on the spot. In order to do that, digital payment is always the key, right? Now, come to businesses like IP88. How we disrupt our own business. I always told my head of sales, how can we disrupt our own business? And then we came out with idea of, number one, if the salesperson were to give out quotation, there's so many quotations. Why don't that particular quotation is smart enough to allow our customer to say, yes, I want to use your service, and straight away make payment. Now, the key is very important. The moment you receive money, what would you do? Now, the entire business changes. Business model changes. Why? The moment you receive payment, we are talking about fulfilling of your obligation. The faster you can fulfill that particular order, that is the key to survival. That's why I would like to introduce you a word I always promoting now is, instead of talking about profit, we should talk about profitability rate. Whatever we do now, whether you are in risk, you are in operation, whether you are in sales, the element of time must be there. It's no longer, oh, I'm going to bring sales, 1 million sales. Yeah, you're going to bring 1 million sales in 100 years. Does it make sense? But if you can bring in sales within 1 hour, you change the landscape of the competition as well as the entire business ecosystem. So, Profitability rate is always talk about your efficiency, your productivity, your ecosystem. How strong is your ecosystem? And companies are changing because of this. And those companies that change, they start to actually gain market share. I give you one very good example. A very big brand. It's a consumer electronics. Start with P. I don't want to mention name. They changed their entire distribution model. And that is the key of their survival. And we are lucky enough, it's actually a Japanese company. It's lucky enough, all right, Malaysia is being chosen as a POC, as a proof of concept. And they love it, and they can see how efficient they are now. They can see their productivity. And that will answer a business always worry about reducing margin. Tell me which company always come and tell you, oh, this year my margin increased another 10%. Have you ever heard that? To me, that is miracle. But we always hear our friend or our peer will say, oh, Chan, my business has become so competitive. My margin now become thinner. I don't know whether I can make money or not. And that is a fact. My point is, I give you one classic example. If you were to distribute a handphone now, a handphone costs you easily 5,000 ringgit. If you receive an order 1,000 units, the total purchase is 5 million. Would you dare to deliver the 5 million to your client? If you only make 50 ringgit per phone. 50 ringgit times 1,000 is only 50,000. 50,000 versus the risk of 5 million. Give me your thoughts.
Right, thanks, Chan. I think that gives a very big think tank to all the audience today. In fact, that 3 minutes given to you, I was rather feeling like going through a business coaching here, Chan. I'm going to get that appointment right away after this session, right? So I learned a lot from the coaching perspective. Yes, you too. Thank you, Chan. Very good point. I love it. Let's move on to Sumesh.
Hey, hi. My name is Sumesh. Chan, thank you for that. So the company's name starts with P and is Japanese, but you won't tell us the name.
That was from Japan, not the Malaysian one.
So my name is Sumesh. I'm the Chief Digital and Strategy Officer at Post Malaysia. I'll be honest, my job is a lot more sophisticated than what Aadrin claimed his was. I regularly get called to say, why is it that I can't fix a projector? So that's always fun. So I think, just going back to the question, I kind of almost forgot the question, but I'll try and remember that. But, I think the answer is yes. Of course, it's important, but the answer is much more nuanced, right? I think the word digitalization is just thrown around all the time across all topics, right? Half the time, I just want to ask people, what do you mean by digitalization? And it just goes into a rant about, tech, and we need to do this and that, and it always ends back to why, right? And I think the answer needs to start with why. And for me, at least the way sort of, I was sort of professionally brought up in my career starts with the customer, right? So who's your customer? What are they buying from you? What needs do they have? How do they want to access you, right? And it starts with that in saying, okay, that should dictate my digitalization roadmap, right? Because if I do things that doesn't matter to my customer, I'm just wasting time, energy, and resource, right? So I think that's sort of the first thing that, at least, the kind of discipline that I'm trying to bring in at POS to say, yes, we can digitalize a lot of things, but who are our customers? What do they want? That's one piece. The second piece is, I think, the nuance also applies to the nature of your business, right? The nature of our business is physical, right? We're in the business of transporting goods, delivering goods. So, the nature of the business is physical. Of course, there are lots of ways in terms of process that can be digitalized, and we should digitalize, and we are in the process of digitalizing. But I often find that, we forget or conveniently ignore, at least what I coin as humanized digitalization, right? A lot of businesses depend very heavily on people and on manual processes, and very simply, until the time we find, drones and robots can deliver, 100% of the value chain, it's a people business. And, in a people business, you got to put people first, right? And there's a threshold beyond which you can actually start alienating your own people by talking about digitalization, right? And people feel like they become second. I think that's an important balance we need to keep in terms of how do you balance people and digital needs. And the last is, and I know I might be coming up on time, but the last point is,
No
I'm getting a
worries.
dirty
Go ahead,
stare.
go ahead.
And the last is, I think, we need to digitalize, absolutely, yes, but we need to constantly question the effort versus returns, right? And again, I think, minus, if you're a tech native organization, or you're a tech native startup, then it's different, right? Because tech's how you built your business.
That's right.
When you're in the business of transforming. Old organizations, some may call legacy organizations, it's a whole different ballgame, right? Because I can't afford to digitalize my entire business today, which means I then need to start rationalizing. I need to put a roadmap together. I need to know what I can afford, by when, etc. And that sort of nuance again becomes really important.
That's really very nice. And I really need to tell this, Sumesh, that I'm very proud to be seated with the legacies and with the transformers. Now you know why I call them Avengers and also the... No. Captain America. Let's move on. How Jeevan, also one of our hero, but he need to be neutral here. Let's hear from Jeevan.
Thanks, Kavita, Doctor. Firstly, I think today we have distinguished people here. We've got the largest oil and gas company here. We've got the largest Provident fund in the country. We've got the largest cybersecurity organization here. We've got the largest payment network here. We've got the largest logistic company in Malaysia. So, I mean, you can't get better guys in the forum today, all right?
We also have the most expensive tech services company.
It's relative. So Jeevan, I work for TCS, and TCS is a digital service provider for many companies in GLCs in Malaysia as well as different parts of the world. We've got close to about 600,000 people in TCS. And the question that Kavita asked is how reliable, how digital transformation is important to company survivability. And I think the notion goes by the fact that it's not just digital. I think the idea is whether digital is relevant. I think we're late in the game. If you still think digital is not relevant, you lost the plot, just to be very frank. Digital is going to be part of your way you live, because why? Your customers are obviously changing. Today, for you to book an airline ticket to London, it's over your mobile phone, and that's as simple as that. For you to go and transfer money between your Maybank and CMB Bank, it's over the phone. So in every form, the way of life has changed. The pandemic has accelerated it. So if you, as any form of organization, don't have a view of that, I think you need to really reset your organization, because your consumer profile, be it the retailers, the B2B companies, they are transforming themselves. Sumesh, Aadrin, Afhzal, and rest of them can't survive without digital. Now, on the hindsight, we had a talk with a couple of the board members. And the board members asked the chief IT officer to come and present a strategy for them for the next 3 to 5 years. And the guy went and said, we want to do this, we want to change our servers, we want to change our networks and all of that. Within 24 hours, he was told to leave the organization. Why? Because he obviously didn't understand the customer profile that he has. there were no clear strategy or focus on how he wants to integrate with his customer. So customer profile is changing time to time as we speak. It's just going to accelerate even further. And the kind of services they're expecting out of you is also going to accelerate. And you can't do it with a traditional way of doing it. In fact, we should be one step ahead. Today, Anwar's talked about data. Many retailers are not selling retail goods. They are selling actually data. They can tell you when Liverpool is playing, in which kawasan, and based on that kawasan, how many breads or how many kachangs will be sold. That's what retailers are doing. They're selling that real-time data on consumer behavior, which is running into millions. So I think the survivability of any organization will definitely hedge on two things. People, your people must be really thinking out, like what Chan said, disrupting the way, and what Sumesh said also. Look at what your customer wants. If your customer really is moving the needle, and you're not moving the needle, and you're caught up with the process of trying to move the needle, you're going to lose the plot. And in every competition, in every market that we have, whether it's the telco, the banking, or even the logistic companies, they are pushing, for them to survive, for them to be around for the next 3 to 5 years, they need to have that. Thank you.
Thanks. So I can actually conclude one point from this introduction question that has been given to the heroes. Transformation is not about individual system, but it is a whole ecosystem that we have to build that comes from the people, processes, compliance, data, and everything, right? So moving on with that, having in mind PETRONAS digital transformation, Aadrin, that has targeted people first. And I remember there's 2 key points: upskilling to a digital democracy, and also velocity of change that underpinned by digital is at the peak for energy industry. So please share some of the example on how COVID accelerated PETRONAS in embracing agility and also innovation in this new normal.
Thanks, Doc. And thanks for quoting that. I totally can't remember when I said that. But it must be true because it's coming from you. Must be COVID. COVID brain. So I think much has been said about the impact of COVID and how it has accelerated digital transformation. I think everyone's read that joke, right? COVID being a CDO's best friend and things like that. But I think from the PETRONAS experience, we've been lucky. And I think when I say lucky, I think I give full credit to my team, to my predecessor, and my leadership team, who's actually pushed digital transformation to start 2017, 2016. So by the time COVID hit us, we were very well underway in terms of our digital transformation. And because of that, that blast radius of COVID to PETRONAS was not as profound as it could be if it wasn't. So whilst people like to talk about the impact of COVID to digital, we like to think of it as the impact of digital to COVID. Because if we hadn't taken those steps to digitally transform ourselves, that COVID impact would have been far larger and far more profound. So I think people don't talk about how digital has impacted COVID, how it has also made it a lot more bearable to a lot of us, and also a lot more productive. And you know, you asked about examples that we do. Of course, there's a lot of things: network, cyber, data. But there's also some of the smaller things as well. Just one quick example. You know, some of our data science teams said that how can we use digital and data to think about productivity and mental health of our clients, of our staff. So they come up with this AI chatbot. We call it Puspa, to make it a bit more feminine, PETRONAS something something personal assistant. And Puspa actually can look at how long you've been working when you're working at home alone, you know, and put that average across the whole group so people can know how productive they are if they're below the band. But most also to show that if you're overworking, let's say if you're working like 20 hours a day, the average is working about 8. And it will actually give advice to our staff to say don't overwork. If they see people that's been on the screen for more than, let's say, 4 hours, they will actually tell us, have you had a break? And we also ask people, how happy are you? How are you? And the results that we got, the replies are astounding. One of my favorite one, I know there's PDPA, but I'll make this anonymous. My favorite one was this lady who said, Pushpa, if my ex-boyfriend is as thoughtful and kind as you, we will be married by now. Yeah. So I think these are just some of the amazing things that once you put the right infrastructure, you can have a bit of fun and create use cases with regards to digital.
Right.
Thanks.
Do you sell that Pushpa?
Yes.
Is it
Happy.
for
I'll
sale?
open a booth behind if anyone's interested. Okay.
Right, that reminds me of we are in the era of having a self-driven car and where we have computer that actually does the learning and the thinking. I think that's where Pushpa fits in. You wanted Pushpa also.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, that's interesting. You know, I think because this is the question that a lot of people have been asking when COVID happened, work from home. What about the productivity? And I know for a fact, for me, it was tough because when you try to work from home, your wife will come. Boleh tolong sidai baju tak kat luar kejap? You know?
So you're working from home and not work for home.
You know, so yeah, exactly. So it is not work is not something that you go to. Work is something that you get done, and I think that's excellent.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that point as well. Afhzal, I know that, wow, this is a big thing. EPF aspired to be a trusted social security organizations, and we have, EPF serves 14.5 million members. I think someone was asking about the number of data that you manage and the value over 1 trillion. So with the digital channel that is becoming a norm in EPF working environment, and also you recognize the growing demand. I think you did mention that what customer want, what employee wants, that is what we want to transform first. So having said that, how EPF is improving the digital experience, you did mention about it earlier, but I would like you to emphasize on that because it's so much so being a national security organization in our country, and you contribute to the development of our country economy as well. So how do you actually manage this, and also into like what Chan said, operational efficiency?
Thank you, Kavita. So you're right. Today, we've got 15 million members. Half of them, not all the Malaysians in this room. We've got about 500,000 employers in the Malaysian scene that contributes on behalf of the members. So essentially what we do has a great impact, right? Because it's almost half of the nation, it's almost everybody in Malaysia, and so on and so forth. And our mission in life is to ensure that all of you, my great members out there, you guys have a better retirement future. And we see that in 3 parts. One is to ensure that you've got adequate savings during retirement with increased life expectancy and so on and so forth. You've got good health, access to health. But in a summary, you have a better meaningful life at the end of retirement.
And of course, better dividends.
Yeah. And right, and how do we do this is we obviously collect contributions from all of you, we invest the contributions, and then we return them in the form of good dividends, as my colleague here said. So obviously the digital channels, the digital experience, and what you guys go through in terms of interacting with EPF is quite critical, yeah? It's quite critical. And we want to ensure that for the most part, while we have been successful in providing that hopefully excellent service through our branches and what have you, that we can continue and replicate that success to our online digital channels. And on that front, what we want to do is not only ensure that we're the trusted social security organization, but we're that social security organization that is relevant in the digital age that we operate in today, where we enable, where we connect, where we empower and engage with all of you, yeah? And to that discussion, we're seeing 3 or 4 significant shifts. I spoke about a couple of them earlier on. The increased customer expectations as a result of demographic shifts, more digital natives, more digital savvy, We're seeing increased expectations on the interfaces that we provide. But structurally, we're also seeing significant shifts in the economy. Yeah? So not only is digital impacting corporations, but digital is also restructuring the economy. So the rise of digital platforms, the fact that today we're predominantly serving the formal sector, the employees, that has now shifted because a lot of the digital platforms have led to a rise in the informal sector. So we've got more grabbers, more freelancers that operate, and they don't fall within the context of the formal economic structure. And because of that, we can't say you don't contribute, this is the penalty. It's a different approach altogether, right? So now we've got to think around when we try to pull in the rest of the informal sector into the EPF scheme, that it's got to be based on certain motivations, certain incentives, right? It's no longer you have to conform, comply, and face the services that we provide. So those are some of the structural shifts that we're seeing with regards to EPF. What are we doing about it? So we've got 3 or 4 key strategies that we've put forward. One is obviously we want to look at redefining our customer service and our digital strategy around the customer, really putting customer at the center of what we do, trying to be more customer-centric. We're trying to understand our customer segments, our member segments, trying to define the various personas and so on and so forth. And obviously, there's a lot of stuff that we're trying to do to recognize the trends that we're seeing. There's this shift to mobile. So more expectations around moving from your traditional web-based to mobile and also to more self-service capabilities. So we're deploying essentially virtual assistants or chatbots to enrich the interaction. Secondly is really looking at changing the way we approach things. Yeah. So in the past, it's always been we think, EPF thinks we know best what the customer wants, right? We think, we give this solution or this experience, they'll accept it, but that's no longer the case. Today, what we think, our notion of what the customer wants is totally different than what they actually want. And because of that, we've got to change the way we approach the services, the products, the experience that we provide online to something that's more in tune with what they want. I'll give you one example. We were in the process of revamping our self-service terminals, our kiosks. So we came up with this fancy design, and everything we thought was it's got to be more visual, icons, more attractive. And when we showed it to the member, they were tapping on the wrong areas. They were tapping, they couldn't get the icons, and so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, what we found out was what they wanted was things to be familiar.
Or more simplified.
Simplified, familiar, but they wanted the ATM look and feel.
Okay.
Right? Because they were used to that. That's how
they're used to it already. Yeah.
So that's one example. The third is obviously looking at how do we expand our products and services offerings, not just to digitalize and automate what we offer today, but looking at it from a more bigger perspective around what EPF can do with regards to our mission. The fact that we wanted to ensure our members have a better retirement future, adequate wealth, so on and so forth. So we've got a couple of platforms that we launched recently. We're allowing our members to invest in unit trust online at almost very low fees. Yeah, and there's various other services, and there's also a couple of other products and services that's in the pipeline that I won't be able to announce today, but certainly it's in the picture.
As part of the transformation as well.
Exactly,
right.
exactly.
Okay.
And lastly, I think we've got to we're also looking at how do we re-architect the platforms that we provide so that they're more nimble. We spoke of, I just spoke of agility. So it's not just about the organization that has got to be agile. It's not about changing the practices so that we're more agile and more receptive to what the customer wants. But we've got to also make sure that the technology platform supports that agility, right? So we're looking at how do we. So in summary, we're doing a couple of things. Redefining our customer experience around the customer, changing the way we do things, expanding our product and services to be more digital, to be more available online, to be more mobile first, and so on and so forth. And lastly, re-architecting our technology platform.
Fantastic. I like all that 4 points which has been summarized. I think in between of this transformation line, the change management plays a very important role. You did mention, and you also said that the human part of it, you see, we understand what our customer is requiring and what kind of experience that they are expecting. So nowadays it's no longer that I think my customer would want that, but it is about customer telling, hey, tomorrow I want this. So that fulfillment comes from EPF is really a great, excellent, and I really love it. Now, I'm going to fly to Indonesia for a while. Dr. Noni, you're still there? Okay, so
Yes.
Dr. Noni, I read a lot about Bluebird, and I know that it isn't a company, just a taxi company, right? And I know that you have taken and put in so much of effort, which you have become an integral part of a complete lifestyle where many Indonesians appreciate your services in the country. So with the interest of, you also have a venture into containers, equipments like logistic as well. And I know that one thing that I want to hear from you today is about the experience that you had twice, I think, if I'm not mistaken, which you had some technology breakdown, and that was a pushing factor for you to move into transformation. The digital transformation was the first step for you. Then come the lockdown. During that part, it's another pushing factor for Bluebird to move into double the transformation. So let's hear from you. Where to start the digital transformation journey? Because this two pushing factor was something that you experience, you experience a downtime and disruption, and then you think, hey, I better move to the transformation and digitize it so it become more feasible, more seamless services that can be rendered. So where does that journey, digital transformation journey start? And from your experience perspective, is it with technology or people? And how do you survive from there?
Thank you, Doctor. I think in short, the question is, how come you're still alive?
Yeah.
If I can put it bluntly. Yeah. So since the beginning, 50 years ago, we're a 50 years old company now. Bluebird has been known to be the innovator, especially in the transportation industry, from implementing a simple meter taxi, centralized call center that is really utilizing the technology available at that moment. We're talking about early 80s. And so in the early 80s, we used the big mainframe, the dinosaurs at that time already. And we were the first taxi company that used GPS system in 2003. We're the first one. We got an award from BlackBerry to be the first taxi company in the world that launched taxi mobile application in 2011. So the reason why I mentioned this, because it was mentioned previously by the previous speakers about timing. Timing is very important, and our ability to always learning to the changes of the environment, our ability to always adapting to the new changes of, as mentioned also by the previous speakers, the changes of the human expectation, the human behavior, puts us into putting people's first. So we always start with people. I would agree that in the old days, the way we challenge ourselves is always by making assumptions of what might our customer needs. That has to change dramatically since the disruptions. And the reason why we survive and also thrive is because of our people, because of the resiliency of our people. And what is most important, that our people, whether it's our customer, our employee, our drivers, we have the same purpose. So the purpose of Bluebird, the name itself, is to give happiness, right? So then we have to be able to do anything possible to be able to survive. It comes back to your question, why people? Because no matter how advanced the technology is, if we don't have the right people at the right time, serving the right services needed by our customers, it will not happen anyways. So for successful transformation, we need to focus on three aspects, which is very as important. Number one is humanity factor. the advancement of humanity in whatever we do. Number two is the advancement of technology, as we're all discussing today. And number three, which is equally important, is the economic values of it. It doesn't matter. We cannot afford what we cannot afford. So it has to be economically viable for a company to adopt a technology. But what's most important is the people's mindset. I think that is what's important. You mentioned earlier, and in our 50 years of journey, of course, we're challenged with so many different challenges throughout our business life. But these two last ones are very important and very much related to the digital transformation. 2016, even though we were awarded as the first taxi company that launched taxi mobile application in 2011, as I mentioned, before anybody, in 2016, we were hit by what everyone called as a digital disruption in transportation industry. It was a huge wake-up call for us because the main reason why we were not advancing with our taxi mobile application was because we were lacking in trying to understand and adapting to the rapid changes of the environment itself, the infrastructure itself, and the behavior and needs of our customers and drivers and employees. What do I mean by that? When we launched in 2011, we thought that our customers do not like using app. And apparently the main reason why was because of the network, the technology that was not sufficient at that moment. So by the end of 2016, by March 2016, everyone thought that Bluebird would die. It's a dying industry. And when the fact that by end of 2016, we were still survive and we were still growing, I think that create a lot of questions. And so again, it comes back to people. As a CEO, what is most important is we need to set the strategy forward. We need to make sure that everyone understand where do we need to go, how we're supposed to do it. But in the implementation part, I have to say it has to be everyone involved. It has to be 360 degrees. I'll give you a very simple example. When we are changing, we're doing the digital transformation within our company after what happened in 2016, we are asking all of our drivers to use the digital mapping, the routing, because we thought that it would be the most efficient routing available. We find a lot of challenge at that time. We thought it's because our drivers were digitally illiterate, but we were wrong. So after finding out more about what's really going on, we found out that one of the issue was because the older driver, not because they're digitally illiterate, it's about their pride. This is a real example. I asked one of the drivers, why don't you want to use the routing system, the Waze, and you name, there are several apps for that. And he said, Ibu, I've been a taxi driver for more than 18 years. I know every single route. I know every single jalan tikus, the small roads in Jakarta, at exactly what time. And, if I have to use the map, the digital map, then what would our customer say about my skill? So it beyonds what we thought. It is beyond about digital literacy. So it is very important that our people know why they need to change. But I have to say also that because of 2016, we are not more prepared when we got hit by the pandemic in 2019. By April 2020, our revenue was down by 70%, 70. So, because there's simply no passengers on the road. So we need to make a lot of changes. We need to shift our services. So we adopt the new service, which is the logistics services. And we need to change completely. We need to rely more on the online reservation system. We need to be able to launch this new logistics service in our My Bluebird app, which is within a very limited time. So again, I think my message comes back to you need to be able to understand how we can transform together. So it's not just the technology part, but also we need to be able to understand the fear of each individual who we need to go together with us to adapt to the new transformation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Noni. That actually reminds me of our problem here. We also have similar problem where the taxi driver cannot adapt to the change. I have this taxi uncle. Don't ask me to become a Grab driver. I'll wait here. I'll pick you up. You call me. Right, so yes, that's a problem. And that a very good point you said about the adaptability and the change that starts from the people. Now, digital transformation bring an extensive involvement to our country. That's what everybody is talking about, and all of us has been witnessing these statements today. And this digital technology, including your IoT, your mobility, analytics, AI, and it combined with human ingenuity, gives a rise predictive system and also security problems. So to answer this, I think as wonderful as this technology can be, threat actors also see the same benefits of leveraging this transformation. I'm very sure that all the panelists here agrees. As much as we think that transformation is important and it's going to be very important, give important experience for the customers, for the employee, for everyone, for the country. There you go, someone at the back of the scene waiting with a mask and say, let me grab that opportunity. How can I make money from this transformation? So like we agreed, digital transformation impacts the evolution of the global economy and how security interest is evolving to keep up with and what corporate should be aware. I know, sir, you did mention about data and data. So let's hear from you. What can we do?
Thank you. That's basically the dark side of economy, okay, that not many people would like to talk about. Yes, we are grateful with what internet have done to us. And I always use this example. When I first started my career in IT, I was just a salesman selling AutoCAD systems. The first computer I sold was a 386 machine with 2 megabyte RAM and 100 megabyte hard disk for about 50,000 ringgit. And I guess now, these handphones, 8 gig RAM, 12 gig RAM, 256 gig storage, 5G connectivity, so on and so forth, goes for about 4,000 to 5,000 ringgit. But of course, the commission I got from selling the AutoCAD machine was very high. The first thing I did was I buy a tie, Hugo Boss yellow color tie, you know. So and now nobody cares. So yeah, that's technology, you know. I mean, we like to talk about what technology is doing for productivity, for killing the Malaysian taxis, you know, the Grab guys. But there is this dark side, you know, and for Cybersecurity Malaysia, our MyCert department, the computer emergency and response, we basically get about 800 to 1,000 incidents reported to us. And unfortunately, most of these are fraud and harassment, you know, penipuan, harassment. And that is only what is reported. What is not reported is probably, you know, 10 times more. Because people don't report. It is not mandatory to report. It is not like you get into a car accident, you make a police report, you claim insurance. But if here, your computer has been compromised, your money has been stolen, you make a police report, the police will tell you, ini jenayah ni berlaku di mana? What is your answer? Tak tahu. You know, and this is an actual incident where a Malaysian manufacturing company was business email compromised. One of their customers in Africa put in a Gmail order, you know, sent using Gmail for about 150,000 US. But unfortunately, the email was man in the middle attack, changed the bank account to the hacker's details. So the hacker, you know, very happy, got 150,000 US, but the customer then asked back, look, what happened? Why am I not getting my order? And when they investigated, go to Bank Negara said, oh, ini criminal, ini jenayah ni, go to PDRM. So the guys in PDRM tanya soalan lah, jenayah ni berlaku di mana? You know, I don't know, somewhere, Indian Ocean, I guess. maybe in the telecom network.
Di langit.
Di langit, alamanya. So yeah, these are the things that I think we are talking about. Okay, awareness. Your users, your systems need to be upgraded. Make sure your CEO understands data leakage is stolen, not just data copied out. Awareness is key to this. Okay, understand what are the risks that are happening, so that you can mitigate the risk. There is no such thing as you are not going to be compromised. You are definitely going to be compromised.
Can I just add that for the corporate survivability in this digital era, cyber risk assessment and preparation for that?
Yes. So for that 1 minute commercial talk, Alhamdulillah, we were given budget by EPU to conduct cybersecurity health check for 300 Malaysian SMEs. So I think I would like to discuss dengan Afhzal. Maybe your 500,000 companies too, we can pick 300 good SMEs that we can do cybersecurity health check. We do risk assessment, malware scanning, plus VAPT. And on top of that, we give them free training lagi.
Now it's really becoming a business platform.
Okay, so now I will pass it back to, I hope I have addressed the issue.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
We are looking from the awareness perspective that we corporate need to increase the awareness of the importance of protecting the data. Now, you are transforming and you have information that is the biggest asset in your company, and you need to find a way to protect it. And the protection starts from your own mindset. It's the change that you have to start with. And that actually takes me to the next speaker, where I want to understand from Chan. Chan, I know that IP 88 driven by vision and revenue. It was very clearly mentioned earlier by you. And now, with that new business model enablement, I think IP 88 also be pressed to follow the lead and anticipate in more options like customization, right? So how do you adapt and push for successful transformation in terms of compatibility?
Okay, this is actually what we are doing. Digital payment is no longer just e-commerce. I think every industry, they have to embrace digital commerce, digital payment. And as I said, digital payment is always the mother of all disruption. Now, what out there is every industry is very hungry for payment solution. Now, what IP88 has been doing, we invested a lot of money, study the pain point of our customers by industry. I give you one example, like insurance industry. We almost capture more than 60% of the market share. Now, not because that my team is a super salesperson. The key is the insurance industry actually needs very good payment solutions. And payment solution is no longer just a service, and we have to provide the entire digital ecosystem, including cybersecurity, including user experience. So this digital transformation, as I mentioned, is not just one party digital payment. It has to include the entire ecosystem. So for me, my opinion is very simple. Every company, they have to do their part. So what we do is we actually we form team between industry player as well as IP88, and we really dive deep inside their pain point. And the key is we are looking at how to improve the service as well as give value to our customer. At the end of the day, it's the customer who need to be satisfied, feel very happy with the service. Then the digital transformation will escalate. I share with you one experience. We started with one of the largest insurance company in the world. They started digital payment just for personal accident. Now, personal accident is a very simple, off-the-shelf kind of insurance. You like it, you pay 50 ringgit, 100 ringgit. Of course, you pay online, and they issue you a PA certificate and so on and so on. And that's it. Now, because of they already have the digital transformation in plan out. They actually work closely with us. Okay, after the PA, what next? What next? What next? And over the last 6 years, we almost captured the entire, almost 80% of this company payment, right? And is actually go into digital payment, and still 20% more. So my point is, this journey is an ongoing journey. It's not something like, oh, I'm done
Not
this,
today.
that's it. All right. Even you completely completed the digital payment process, then cybersecurity is the major one.
Major.
There are so
You have to
many things.
address it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. That's right.
I truly agree with you, Chairman, because you mentioned that transformation, it is not a day kind of a thing. It's a journey, and that journey, you really need to have this blueprint, and you need to make sure that it's compatible, and that's one way for you to ensure that you stay relevant in the industry.
Can I add a point?
Sure.
Because this is a journey, so every company have to invest manpower, the expertise, continue to learn, continue to engage within the ecosystem, find out more about cybersecurity, find out more about what IP can offer, what are the competitive advantage, leveraging on all the players within the ecosystem. That is a very important, to me, a very important move by every company if you want to make your digital transformation and your journey a very successful one.
Okay, I start liking this platform very much than earlier. Later, I'll give you my name card as well. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to emphasize one point here. I'm very proud to host this session today, and all my panelists here are representing their topic of the day from their experience and from their journey, from their perspective, from their organization perspective, and including Dr. Noni. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Yeah, sometimes people only talk about success story, yeah? But how you become there to become success and what were the challenges that you go through is what Dr. Noni mentioned. So here with the same side of the story, I'm going to move to Sumesh. And I know that Post Malaysia has redefined the business model, and they have many digital strategies as well and look into transformation. And amid the COVID environment that what we went through for the last 2 years, you also have engaged a notable initiative to provide consumers with fast and seamless services in terms of logistic and all that. And you also I believe that this transformation is a crucial step to the economy of post-Malaysia. Now, how do you actually enable this transformation with the latest digitalization tools, technologies, and solution across in post-Malaysia?
Sure. Firstly, I think it'll be remiss of me when everyone's promoting their product. I should also do mine. So please use Post Malaysia.
A little bit.
But I think you're being very generous when you use terms like Post Malaysia is digitally transformed and we've redefined a lot of things. We haven't redefined anything. We're years behind where we should be, and that's the cold hard truth of it.
Thank you.
It's a journey, right? And it starts with one step. And I think digital transformation is a big part of that, right? But like I said, it's different to different businesses. For us, we have about 10 years minimum of tech debt, right? So we have 10 years of tech debt that's going to take us a couple of years just to solve for debt and come up to where we need to be, right? And so I think that's sort of one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is, I think we have a very clear way forward now, right? Which is sort of really good news. So we know where we want to be when it comes to last mile delivery in terms of courier and mail. We know where we want to be when it comes to financial services and what role we want to play in that. We also know what are the experiments we want to run over the next sort of 18 to 24 months, be it in health tech, be it in commerce, and a few other areas. And all of this is underpinned by the fact that we have a very clear direction and mandate that everything that we do will be focused on the M40 and possibly the B40 segments, right? So the path forward in terms of who we want to target, what we want to do is clear. Now the question is, how can tech enable that, right? And so part of that journey is, what we're going through at the moment, right? We have a very large, mail and courier business, and as I said, the priority there is to make sure that we pay or repay our tech debt, get to where we need to get to, and then look at what we need to build for the future. Right. And there are tons of exciting things for the future, right? And obviously, only the more glamorous drones and robotics get their sort of time in the limelight. But there's a ton of boring stuff that's really important for our business, right? There's a ton of boring stuff that doesn't capture the imagination of most people. That's really important to automate, digitalize our business better. So that's sort of one. In terms of the new initiatives, we get started from scratch, right? And through a combination of building in-house engineering teams, which has been quite an uphill battle for me personally, both in Malaysia and post-Malaysia, and using some very trusted partners, and see how they can sort of help us in this digitalization journey. So.
Right, thank you. I believe that Jeevan have done a good job as well. All right. Okay, so with that, I mean, I'm picking that point back, also connecting or mapping it back to what Chan said. It's a journey. And you need to have that sort of blueprint, not only looking from what technology can do. Technology is just an enablement, but what people can do first. Yeah, we start from the human being. Right, so having that, organizations now, I like this
I'm really
statement.
sorry, can I just make one point?
Yeah, sure.
It would... I think again, going back to the first question, what is really important is understanding, what are the pain points you can solve using tech, but also what are the pain points you don't need tech for.
Yeah,
right. I'll give you one example, right? So in August of last year, when we started this journey at Post Malaysia, our next day deliveries, right, which is, you give us your parcel today, we deliver next day, was at 52%. Okay. It was by far, embarrassing and significantly lower than anyone else in the market, right? Through sheer, grit, bringing the ops teams together, rallying the team, building a deep sense of pride and a little bit of tech here and there, today we're at 92%, right? And 92%, I hasten to add, is by far, and we test ourselves every week versus competition, by far leads the market, right? And so, through a transformation journey, it's really important to understand not to use digitalization or tech as an excuse. As an excuse, right? Because there are tons of things you can do with human power.
There are things that can be automated, and there are many things that cannot be automated. Right? And that's where we need human to think about it, human to bring creativity, human to bring innovation, and that sort of imagination. That's what we're going to value in future. I'm missing the human being here. So I hope EPF will still have counters here. I still want to go to the counter and smile. Macam mana rasa anda the service today? So I will choose my smiley there. We still want that, right?
Or you can shut your counters and put them in Post Malaysia.
See, again and again, I'm coming back this... I was just about to say, now this is a business platform, and I'm very sure Jeevan got something to sell as well. I mean, to say as well. Okay. After this, right, we all, Jeeva, we all are looking to harness Business 4.0 with the support of IR 4.0, definitely. And that makes a significant investment in capabilities, and it required a big, big thing. Dr. Noni mentioned that earlier with the transformation that she was expecting, that all started from people, and many of us in this room have actually admitted that. So in addition to technology investment, companies are also looking at increasing the agility, the value, and enhanced stakeholder experience across the value chain, and that come from people. So that means, what are the circumstances that demand a transformation of the talent management process that stay aligned with Business 4.0?
Geez, Kavita. It's a fully loaded question. I know.
No, I really have to pull all of them to say what they have said before. There's nothing that I created this question, and they know it very well. It's what
That's a price
Afhzal
I
have
pay.
said. Yeah, so Jeevan, yeah.
So that's a price I pay. Anyway, thanks for the question. I think it's in the greatest challenge we have today is talent. Good talent. And you're not going to find good talent everywhere, every time. That we've got to learn to accept, number one. Number two, if you have good talent, then you must be able to engage them, give them a sense of purpose. Because today, when we go and interview talent, the first question they ask us is, what does your company stand for? What does your company stand for? What is the purpose of your company? These are questions coming up from fresh graduates today.
Fresh graduates.
And it's amazing. I know, those days when you get a job, you grab it, you go. But today's talent is very much exposed to a lot of things that's happening around the world. So during the pandemic, we had a lot of challenges because we are a people business. We have 1,500 people in Malaysia. The pandemic, we couldn't connect with them physically. So we created a couple of apps. One called Circle for Life is one. The other one is ClickFit. To make sure that it, over and above what you do for the company, we want to make sure that your well-being is well taken care of. So ClickFit is an app which connects to your phone, makes sure you do 10,000 steps, compares you against your fellow colleague, whether you've done 10,000 steps and you've drank 8 glasses of water. And that's really gamified to some extent. So in that whole, every day we get to see whether we're top, we're down, whether we've done our 10,000 steps. It nudges you to go and do your 10,000 steps every day. Why? Because suddenly employees said, hey, for once, the company thinks of us. For once, company is nudging us to do something good. So like Pushpa, that is really the soft side of it. Ours was trying to just get them out of the computer, go do your 10,000 steps and make sure your well-being is taken care of. So you're going to have this talent crunch. Post Malaysia is having it, IPA is having, everyone that sit up here are having this talent crunch. So you need to know what you need to do to retain your talent in terms of giving them a sense of purpose. They don't want a 9-to-5 job. I can tell you that right now. We see that. Nobody wants a 9-to-5 job. So what we've done is we've infused in every project that we do element of ESGs and sustainability. I keep telling our guys, you have Facebook time every day. Use that Facebook time for something greater good. And that has worked. That has worked for us so well that today we're able to retain that. We want every guy to be involved in some ESG, whether you're doing something for the cancer hospital in KLGH, whether you're doing something for empowerment of youth in Seed Lab, or any other platform. The whole idea is we keep saying that you must do good to retain good talent because they don't want a job in this new era.
Wonderful. I really like that point of where we need to get our talents. I mean, one of the ways to sustain, to retain them, getting them involved in ESG is very, very important, very, very crucial. And then we build them to become more human rather than they just work in front of a PC, computer talkings and all that. Now, we have come to the end of our show. I know you're all going to get very sad. Yeah, they stop talking. So after this, we can still catch up for lunch. We're going to be around. And is there any question from the floor before we go to some closing? Yes, sir.
Only one comment I have when we are talking about transforming and learning, etc., it starts with us, the people in the board, the top C levels. It is very difficult for us to say, I don't know. And it happened to me when I started this conference, when I came in. I just want to print my name cards because it's COVID and not printed. My daughter came and said, Dad, you're going for a digital conference.
don't you know how to exchange cards in a digital form?
Aadrin?
And I just learned it, and I'm struggling. Even now I'm struggling, even with the LinkedIn barcode or whatever it is, the foreign manner. So the biggest challenge I've seen in various boards, etc., is transformation means something new, completely new.
Completely.
And for that to happen, each one of us, and any one of us, including myself, if you go back and ask, what is digitalization? I may talk about a simple automation, a bot, or a simple, connectivity, or a web doing something. Do you know something about Web3? We don't know something about metaverse. Do you know about blockchain, stable coins? And how it's going to disrupt and change our business completely. And the second thing is we always live in short-term returns, immediate gratification in any board, because what is the profitability, what is the ROI? Digitalization, transformation takes time. And for that, the top management, the people who are making judgment, don't know about it. How can I, cross over this hurdle? That's a question to the panel. It's not more a comment and a question, because it's the biggest challenge is how we say, I don't know. And then we start learning, and then start thinking about short-term and long-term, and putting that bet. And that's what will dramatically change. Today, we have been pushed to do what is need to be done. If we don't do it, I'm not going to survive. But that's not going to take away transformation. That's more incremental. That's the comment I want to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So maybe Aadrin or Afhzal, would you like to just give some thoughts on what? So we didn't get your name, unfortunately. Venkat. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Venkat. I think very pertinent points. And I think just that realization and that desire to learn and to understand, that your organization is lucky to have a leader like you. But I think, to be fair, this is where we think about digitalization. It has to be two ways. The support, the patience, and the push needs to come from the top, because it needs a lot of organizational patience. And let's admit it, digitalization is not cheap. But at the same time, I'm a big believer as well. That pull must come from the bottom and from the business as well. And in order to do this whole identifying the pain points, identifying the unmet demand is really critical. I would think that is even more important than having the right technology or having the right, all these things that you mentioned, IoT, because there's so many things that you can go into. But identifying what is that critical use case, what is that critical pain point, and that is done by talking to people, talking to your customers. Most importantly, you've heard that theme coming out through all of us, right? Because once you identify the right pain point, then you can turn that pain point very quickly to value. And the moment there's value to be created, I think this is where the leadership, the board members will start to see the value of their investment. And I think if we do that well, which is the amalgamation of both top support and a bit of leap of faith at the start, but at the same time, rather than go into this huge corporate program, billions of dollars, and trying to almost entice the people to use it, we should start with the people and the customers and identify what they really want. What's the pain? Because the moment they use it, then the value can be created. The more value can be created, that's when the board gets happier and put more money on the table. So then you create this cycle, right? Which I think that's, I guess, how I look at it and how we propel transformations.
I want to add on. You see, this digital transformation is a journey. So a journey actually starts with the culture of the company, all right? The founders, the C-level of the company must have this culture of embracing digital transformation. So at the end of the day, it's the education. From culture, you create education. Education, you create communication. To me, human being, as long we are aligned, as long we understand each other's goal, as long we communicate, then at the end of the day, we will achieve the goal.
Thanks. So I'm going to conclude this session.
Sorry.
Yes.
May I add just quickly, because I think that this is extremely important. Having a growth mindset, I feel that what drives our organization, and being human. As a leader, I think we need to take an example to the whole organization that nobody knows everything. And for example, I myself always ask the questions instead of always knowing the solutions. And always want to be able to learn. I think that is what's important. And it is okay not to know everything. It is really okay. I think that is a kind of mindset that we as leader should really convey to everyone in the organization, so that the organization becomes agile and wanting to learn more.
And that's the point that I mentioned earlier, like we are sitting in a race of a tornado. We really want to get there. Okay, Afhzal wanted to say a point.
Yeah, I just wanted to add this perspective, because I do get funny questions, if you will. You know, what's our blockchain strategy? You know, what's our AI strategy?
Okay.
So I think fundamentally, each organization has got to anchor its transformation to its purpose and objectives.
Right.
And different organizations have different objectives. You know, if you look at EPF, it's not about bringing revenue, right? We've got different social objectives that we need to achieve. You know, PETRONAS has different objectives, so on and so on and so forth.
Right.
So I think fundamentally, the boards, the management of such organizations have got to anchor their digital transformation back to its core purpose. What are you guys trying to address, resolve, achieve, right? New business models required, you know, social objectives, whatever have you.
Right. Right. So to conclude the point that we have listened from all the panelists today, I would say that to start your digital transformation, you need to understand your business first. And this is a common mistake that many IT leaders that I personally have experienced, that offering solution before even understanding what the business, including the problem and the challenges that they are facing. So with that, concluding our session today, I'm going to go round quick one, with all the panelists to do a closing summary with this little thing in mind. When you want to start a digital transformation journey, is there a beginning or an end? I'll start with Jeevan.
Firstly, I think you got to learn to fail fast. Don't be too afraid of failure. You got to fail fast. Keep your talents close to your heart, not only to your pocket, but to your heart. Because I think there's a lot of IQ in the market, but there's a lack of a lot of EQ. And good talent is looking for organization which really puts EQ before IQ.
Can I say no?
We don't have a choice, isn't it, by default?
Actually, you told me not to say no. So, okay. Is there a beginning and end? No. If I were to appear intelligent and say something, it would be essentially, you know, it goes back to the purpose, right? What are you trying to do, right? You know, I mean, you know, to the earlier question, by the way, congrats. You were so passionate. I loved it. You know, knowing what metaverse is or Web3 is not digitalization, right? It's not even close to digitalization. You know, understanding what do you want to achieve, what are your business objectives, and looking at how systemized thinking and application of that systemized thinking using tech is what digitalization is about. And you know, in doing that, business continuously evolves, and so does digitalization.
Excellent. Thanks, Chen.
I was so worried yesterday and today. I don't hear this ESG being mentioned. So I almost want to raise a red flag actually. I want to, hey, ESG. So my point is digital transformation, you must make it ESG, embrace ESG is very important, because at the end of the day, the millennials, the planet have to survive. We have to survive and we have to be happy. So a little bit of advertisement. Because of the importance of ESG, we actually started ESG Malaysia Association. Please join this association so that we make this world a better world for us to make profit and be happy. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll be the first member from this forum. And use iPay88. I help you to promote as well. Pay me later. Dr. Noni, we want to hear from you. Is there a beginning and an end for this digital transformation?
No, it is a learning journey, as experienced by our company for more than 50 years now. It is a learning journey. And I agree, it is very important to always come back to our purpose. And the purpose has to be beyond numbers. Being able to be profitable is just the mean to be sustainable. I think that is very important. Find the sweet spot, as I mentioned earlier. In order to have a successful transformation, we need to find our sweet spot that comprises of the three factors: the humanity advancement, the purpose itself, the technology advancement, and the economic value of it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Sir.
Yeah, I think we are going through very difficult times now. Never in our life we would have thought that we will have to be locked down in our own houses. You can't go out. And pandemic, I think, has affected not just our mindset, but also the way we work. And never in our lifetime we would have thought that Russia is going to attack Ukraine, there's going to be a war. So these are the crises that we have to manage. And on top of that, you have your transformation that you need to look at. So all these difficult issues, if I can sort of summarize it and give some solution, there is this term that we call VUCA ODA: volatility, uncertainty, ambiguity, and complexity. So we are dealing during these difficult, volatile times. There are a lot of uncertainties when it comes to your digital journey, your transformation. Yes, there are a lot of ambiguities, okay? And what do? You need to look into, observe what's happening, okay? And then you need to orient yourself. But the difficult part will be the decision and the action part, okay? So Google this, strategic thinking management, VUCA ODA. And I think there might be some solution there, and hopefully we can all sleep better at night.
Yeah, very nicely nailed with the topic of the day. Thank you so much, Afhzal.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a continuous learning process for a lot of the organizations. I think it's got to be anchored against, again, the purpose and the objectives that the organization wants to achieve. I also recognize that I think this process is one of those, long journeys which, can be quite taxing for the organization. So, you require that top-down commitment, having, transformation being driven right from the top. Right. The whole organization has got to commit to it. It's going to be a tough journey because it's not just about, putting the tech in place, revisiting your business models and so on and so forth, but really, changing a lot of things internally and so on and so forth. So I think,
excellent. Aadrin, you got to hold the point there.
Two quick points. We've talked about a journey.
Yeah.
But if you are looking for a linear journey, a roadmap, you're not going to get it.
Everybody have actually said about there's no beginning, no end.
Not just that, but it is not even a straight line. Yeah. The name of the game is not about looking for a roadmap.
Right.
But looking for the right building blocks and the ecosystem.
I want to add this question to you. Okay. How do you sustain it?
Yeah, so it's about building the right building blocks.
Yep.
About creating ecosystem, partners, clients, customers, collaborating, engaging.
Yes.
It's not about having a map and driving the car.
Right.
It's about building a Google map or Waze so that the business can drive wherever they want. That to me is the real win of digital. And last point, who says the digital people are nerds and introverts? We can't stop talking. So go home, go back to your company. Please speak to your nice digital friends.
They have changed. Remember, it starts with change management, self-change. Right, thank you very much. It's an honor for me to host this session, and time to exchange our name cards after this. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day and good lunch. Thank you.